Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India begins inspection of all Boeing 787 planes as a multidisciplinary committee formed to probe the Air India crash. Black box recovered, search on for the cockpit voice recorder. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to leave on a three-nation visit to Cyprus, Canada and Croatia on Sunday. Iran retaliates with missile attacks on Israel. The UN nuclear agency confirms internal radiation at Natanz nuclear facility, but no external risks detected. Washington to host US military parade honoring the US Army's 250th anniversary. The day also significant as it marks 79th birthday of President Donald Trump. And South Africa wins its hard-fought battle against Australia to lift their maiden ICC World Test Championship trophy at the iconic Lord's Stadium in London. In a press briefing on Saturday, India's Civil Aviation Minister Mohan Naidu Kinjarapu said that the plane crash near Ahmedabad airport shook the entire nation. During the briefing, the minister informed that a high-level committee has been constituted to investigate the crash. Earlier, the aviation minister held a high-level meeting with senior officials from the ministry and other related departments.
High-level committee before. And immediately we have constituted the committee also yesterday under the chairmanship of Home Secretary, Secretary Ministry of Civil Aviation, Additional Secretary from MHA, one representative from the state of Gujarat where the incident actually happened.
The minister highlighted that the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has ordered to conduct an extended surveillance into the Boeing 787 series aircraft model.
We do have a very strict protocol, robust protocol, which we follow every time. But even after, when the incident happened, we also felt that there is a need to do an extended surveillance into the Boeing 787 series. So from the DGCA, we have also given an order to do the extended surveillance for the 787 planes. There are 34 in our Indian aircraft fleet today. I believe that 8 have already been inspected.
The minister also said that every theory going around this crash will also be analysed independently by the investigating committee.
Any theory that is going around this crash, everything will be analysed. And the high-level committee is going to do its own investigation, which is going to be independent of all the other investigations that are going to happen. AIB is going to be the technical side of the investigation, which will be very much core to what we are trying to do in finding out what exactly happened. And the high-level committee is also going to meet very soon.
Several teams, including the National Security Guard, National Disaster Response Force, Indian Air Force and Central Industrial Security Force were deployed to the crash site to inspect the wreckage of the ill-fated London-bound Air India flight. These teams are involved in search operations, securing the area and assisting with the investigation process. The headquarters of the Directorate General of Civil Aviation will remain open today. As most of the passengers were severely burnt, forensic experts say the only possible option for their identification is DNA profiling. The government is now undertaking DNA sampling process for the relatives, and the official number of deceased will be declared only after the completion of the DNA testing. So far, samples of 192 people have been taken for testing at the Ahmedabad Civil Hospital. Meanwhile, Gujarat Home Minister Harsh Sangvi today reviewed the DNA testing process at the Directorate of Forensic Sciences of Home Department. The Home Secretary, IGP of Intelligence Bureau and Director of Forensic Science Laboratory were also present.
फॉरेंसिक साइंस की पूरे गुजरात की टीम जो पिछले 2 रातों से सोए बिना रात दिन एक करके जल्द से जल्द सभी परिवारों के डीएनए मैच के लिए काम कर रही है। कुल मिला के भारत सरकार से भी बहुत बड़ी संख्या में फॉरेंसिक एक्सपर्ट्स की मदद यहाँ पे भेजी गई है। उसी के साथ गुजरात सरकार के भी 36 जितने फॉरेंसिक एक्सपर्ट लगातार दिन रात इस पे काम कर रहे हैं।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 3-nation visit from June 15th to 19th. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, Prime Minister Modi will pay an official visit to Cyprus on 15th and 16th of June at the invitation of President of the Republic of Cyprus. This will be the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Cyprus in over 2 decades. While in Cyprus's capital, Nicosia, Prime Minister will hold talks with President Christodoulides and address business leaders in Limassol. The visit will reaffirm the shared commitment of the two countries to deepen bilateral ties and strengthen India's engagement with the Mediterranean region and the European Union. In the second leg of the visit, the Prime Minister will travel to Kananaskis in Canada on June 16th-17th to participate in the G7 summit. This will be Prime Minister's 6th consecutive participation in the G7 summit. At the summit, Prime Minister will exchange views with leaders of the G7 countries, other invited outreach countries and heads of international organizations on crucial global issues including energy security, technology and innovation, particularly the AI energy nexus and quantum-related issues. The Prime Minister will also hold several bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit. In the final leg of his tour, Prime Minister Modi will undertake an official visit to Croatia on 18th June 2025. This will be the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Croatia, marking an important milestone in the bilateral relationship. Prime Minister will hold bilateral discussions with Prime Minister Plenković and meet the President Zoran Milanović. The visit to Croatia will also underscore India's commitment to further strengthening its engagement with the partners in the European Union. At the invitation of President of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulides, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to Cyprus on 15th and 16th of June. This will be the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Cyprus in over 2 decades. Prime Minister Modi will hold talks with President Christodoulides and address business leaders. The visit aims to reaffirm the shared commitment of both the nations to deepen bilateral ties and strengthen India's engagement with the Mediterranean region and the European Union. A report.
As part of India's deepening engagement with Europe, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to Cyprus from June 15th to 16th. This will be the first leg of his 3-nation visit. Later, he will travel to Canada for the G7 summit and Croatia. Prime Minister Modi's visit to Cyprus is the first by an Indian PM in over 2 decades. In capital Nicosia, Prime Minister Modi will hold talks with President Nikos Christodoulides and also address business leaders in Limassol. The visit will reaffirm the shared commitment of the two countries to deepen bilateral ties and strengthen India's engagement with the Mediterranean region and the European Union. India and Cyprus established diplomatic ties in 1962. Bilateral relations between both the countries have been traditionally very close and friendly. India had supported the freedom struggle of Cyprus. Cyprus supported India on crucial issues, including India's election to UNSC and India-US Civil Nuclear Agreement, the NSG and IAEA. Prime Minister Modi's visit aligns with India's efforts to deepen ties with European Union, particularly as Cyprus is set to assume the rotating presidency of the EU Council in the first half of 2026. Cyprus and Croatia are also seen as potential partners in the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, a major infrastructure initiative launched during India's G20 summit, which aims to enhance connectivity between India, the Middle East and Europe. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Cyprus comes at a sensitive time. This is his first foreign visit after Operation Sindoor. Cyprus was one of the first countries to condemn the Pahalgam terror attack. India has always supported a peaceful resolution of the Cyprus dispute as per international law. In that sense, this visit is seen as a powerful symbol of solidarity against common geopolitical adversaries and forces. With camera person Senthil, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Limassol, Cyprus.
And Iran launched retaliatory airstrikes in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv following Israel's biggest ever military strike against Tehran in a bid to prevent it from developing a nuclear weapon. Air raid sirens sounded across Israel, including in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, sending residents rushing into shelters as successive waves of Iranian missiles streaked across the skies and Israeli interceptors rose up to meet them. Israel's military said Iran fired fewer than 100 missiles and most were intercepted or fell short. The military said its air defense systems were operating, seeking to intercept Iranian missiles. The US military helped shoot down Iranian missiles headed for Israel. It said rescue teams were operating at a number of locations across the country where fallen projectiles were reported. Iran said the strikes were in response to Israel's attacks on Iran early on Friday against commanders, nuclear scientists, military targets and nuclear sites. Israel's defense minister said on Saturday that the Iranian leadership had crossed a red line by firing at civilians and will pay a heavy price for it. While in Iran, several explosions were heard overnight in capital Tehran. 2 projectiles also hit Tehran's Mehrabad airport. Close to key Iranian leadership sites, the airport hosts an Air Force base with fighter jets and transport aircraft. Earlier, Israel blasted Iran's huge Natanz underground nuclear site and killed its top military commanders. Meanwhile, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi confirmed that the above-ground pilot enrichment plant at Iran's Natanz nuclear site has been destroyed. Grossi said electricity infrastructure at Natanz was also destroyed and the loss of power to a cascade hall may have damaged centrifuges there. But the level of radioactivity outside Natanz has remained unchanged and normal. Radiological contamination is manageable with appropriate measures, he said. Iran is enriching uranium up to 60% purity, close to the weapons grade of 90% at the Natanz pilot plant. But another nuclear site, Fordo, which is dug into a mountain, produces more of the material, and military experts say that it would be difficult for Israel to destroy this site through bombardment. Meanwhile, Iran accused the United States of being complicit in Israel's attacks on the Islamic Republic at the United Nations Security Council. Denying the claims, Washington told Tehran that it would be wise to negotiate over its nuclear program. Iranian ambassador Amir Saeed Iravani accused Israel of seeking to kill diplomacy, to sabotage negotiations and to drag the region into a wider conflict.
Earlier today, Israel continued its act of aggression against Iran, once again targeting multiple civilian and military sites across several Iranian cities. These deliberate and systematic killings were not only illegal, but inhuman, a chilling display of calculated aggression. These atrocities constitute clear act of state terrorism and flagrant violation of international law. Those who support this regime with the United States at the forefront must understand that they are complicit by aiding and enabling these crimes. They share full responsibility for the consequences. Supporting Israel today is supporting war crimes, crimes against humanity.
In response, Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon said that Iran had been preparing for war and Israel strikes were an act of national preservation.
waited for diplomacy to work. We gave the international community time. We watched negotiations stretched on as Iran made forced concessions or refused the most fundamental conditions. All the while, Iran continued to build toward the unthinkable. Last night, the wait ended. We will not relent, and we will not allow a genocidal regime to endanger our people. Third, we struck the core of the nuclear program, the underground enrichment facilities at Natanz. This facility was operating at a military-grade capacity. Intelligence confirmed that within days, Iran could have produced enough material for multiple bombs.
Now, senior U.S. official McCoy Pitt said that the United States of America will continue to seek a diplomatic resolution in this conflict.
As President Trump has repeatedly said, this dangerous regime cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons. Israel advised us this action was necessary for its self-defense. Every sovereign nation has the right to defend itself, and Israel is no exception. The United States was informed of the strikes ahead of time, but was not militarily involved in these strikes. Our absolute foremost priority is the protection of U.S. citizens, personnel, and forces in the region.
You're watching DD India Live, still to come on this show. Donald Trump approves Nippon Steel's $14.9 billion purchase of U.S. steel, capping a tumultuous 18-month effort by the companies that survived union opposition and 2 national security reviews. And yoga gurus, policymakers, health experts, business leaders attend the inaugural session of Yoga Connect, a global yoga summit in New Delhi.
Change is not always a choice. It is about rethinking the way we live, what we consume, and the everyday choices that we make.
Commercializing something in the form of tourism, it opens up channels of revenue for the local population, right? Your farmers are seeing a boost of people that are coming there. Your retailers, the people who have shops, are now seeing international tourists walk down and buy scents from them.
We have been working together to build a model of involving the youth and the children of the village in the restoration efforts in a way that they may find culturally relevant.
It needs big actions. It needs things like the deposit returns. It needs bans on certain single-use plastic items.
If we all join hands and embrace organic farming, only then can we ensure a healthier future for the next generation.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. US President Donald Trump on Friday signed an executive order paving the way for Nippon Steel investment in US steel. However, the development comes with the condition that the Japanese company must comply with the national security agreement submitted by the federal government. Trump's order did not detail the terms of national security agreement. Both sides said in a joint statement that the agreement stipulates that approximately $11 billion in new investments will be made by 2028 and includes giving the US government a golden share, essentially veto power, to ensure that the country's national security interests are protected. US President Donald Trump will preside over a huge military parade in Washington on his 79th birthday this Saturday. Trump's long-held dream of a parade will come true as nearly 7,000 troops plus dozens of tanks and helicopters rumble through the Capitol in an event officially marking the 250th anniversary of the US Army. The rare military parade is the largest in the United States since the end of the Gulf War in 1991. At the same time, protests by the so-called No Kings movement are expected across the US against what organizers say is a Trump personality cult. But the parade may face disruption from another source, the weather. Thunderstorms could hit Washington on Saturday when the parade is taking place. India has expressed satisfaction over the recent rise in Maldives' foreign exchange reserves, attributing the improvement to a successful $400 million currency swap drawdown from the Reserve Bank of India. In a post on X, the Indian High Commission in Maldives said that the move eased immediate external liquidity pressures and termed the financial assistance a timely step in supporting the island nation's economic stability. The inaugural session of Yoga Connect, a global yoga summit by the Ministry of Ayush, was organized in New Delhi. This was an opportunity to bring together people who are shaping the future of yoga. Yoga gurus, policymakers, health experts, business leaders, researchers and global influencers, both from India and abroad, attended the summit. A major highlight of the summit was the release of the Yoga Prabhav report, a nationwide study conducted by the Central Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy, assessing the impact of International Day of Yoga over the past decade. India's Minister of State for Ayush, Pratap Rao Jadhav, while addressing the summit, said that yoga is India's approach to global wellness through ancient traditions. In a key development, the Indian Coast Guard successfully transferred the tow of MV1 High 503 to the ocean-going tug Offshore Warrior on Friday, 20 nautical miles off Kochi. Challenging weather had caused the vessel to drift, delaying aerial operations. However, a Navy Sea King helicopter airlifted the salvage team on board under tough conditions. 3 Indian Coast Guard ships continue firefighting and escort duties as only minor smoke and hotspots remain. The coordinated operation by the ICG, Navy, Air Force has averted a major environmental crisis. In a significant crackdown, explosives and other warlike stores were recovered from the outskirts of 5 valley districts in the Indian state of Manipur. Joint teams of Manipur Police, CAPF, Army and Assam Rifles recovered 328 firearms, including SLRs, INSAS rifles, carbines and MP5 guns during coordinated search operations in Manipur on the night of 13th and 14th June. India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan presided over the handover of a letter of intent to the selected institutions from the UK, Australia, the USA and Italy during an event. Also, 5 renowned foreign universities have been officially invited to set up campuses in India. The event was also graced by Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and Ajit Pawar. And now let's take a look at other stories making news in India today. India's Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman arrived in the northern Indian city of Leh for a 4-day visit. During her stay, she will engage with key leaders and inaugurate developmental projects and chair a credit outreach program, highlighting the importance of financial inclusion. The National Testing Agency has declared the NEET UG 2025 results for over 22 lakh candidates. The exam was held on May 4th in 13 languages across 552 cities in India and 14 abroad. Counselling will be conducted by respective authorities based on All India ranks. And in sports, Aiden Markram's magnificent century guided South Africa to a 5-wicket win over Australia in the World Test Championship final at the Lords on Saturday. Proteas have finally ended their decades-long wait for a major global cricket trophy. South Africa set 282 to win, reached the target before lunch on the 4th day with opening batsman Markram out for 136. This was their first appearance in the World Test Championship final. South Africa's previous International Cricket Council title came in 1998, but they have a long history of folding under pressure. Last year in T20 World Cup in Barbados, they lost to India despite needing just 30 runs from their last 30 balls with 6 wickets standing. In 18 previous attempts in the One Day International and T20 World Cups, South Africa had only reached one solitary final. So DD India's Meher Raj Singh is joining us on the story now. Meher, from ridicule to redemption, a word on Temba Bavuma's leadership and the stunning century by Aiden Markram there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very big moment for South Africa and South Africa cricket, because after 27 years, they have broken their ICC trophy jinx. And what we can say is they've had great legendary players in their teams like A.B. de Villiers and Dale Steyn, J.P. Duminy over the years. But this is the team which has led them to a trophy after 27 years. But again, we should not discount Australia, because they have been neck to neck with South Africa for the whole match. And if you talk about the captain Pat Cummins or Mitchell Starc, they have been on guns blazing, and they have been breathing fire with the pace. But it was at the end South Africa who came out on top. And you know, it's like an epic chess match if you talk about a test match, because a test match and a chess match has one unique property, which is if you do something wrong, if one move is wrong, then it can change the trajectory of the whole game. So I think the way Markram and Temba Bavuma have saved the game and led South Africa to this historic win, and especially Bavuma, who was fighting through an injury, who had an injury scare at the early moments of his innings, and then also taking off the pressure from Markram, who then went on to score a magnificent century, becoming the first South African to score a century in ICC tournament finals. I think overall this is a great tribute for South African cricketing fans who have been waiting for decades for an ICC trophy.
Yeah, June 14, 2025, a crucial date for South African cricketing team when they have eliminated its cricketing pandemic, known widely as the Chokers tag. Thank you very much, Mehraj Singh, for reporting on the story. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates from India and the world. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.